Welcome back, everybody. We're over in North America now. It is Dolson Kresnik still working. Krez, you're the do-it-all man here today. Happy to have you. Working production, also doing a lot of Chair 2 fun today. And this one could be a lopsided set, at least if you're looking as far as standings go. Pickled Pepper haven't lost yet over here in North America. And Flashpoint, I think, surprisingly enough, are the ones trying to play catch-up over here in this region.
Yeah, and honestly, Dave, about the Pickled Pepper not losing, I don't know when that's going to change. They're looking unstoppable in a lot of different situations, but Flashpoint, they have a lot of players, a lot of experience. I just don't know how much they're scrimming, how much they're practicing. Vex30 wants to flex onto different roles, kind of getting off support, letting Jalen play that, playing a little bit of tank, playing a little bit of DPS, maybe just wanting to see what he can do as a player, but I don't know. I don't think that's really been as conducive for them getting real game wins. It's been tough.
Absolutely. And I think to your point, you look at this Pickled Pepper squad, I think I agree. I don't know, man. I mean, they look near unstoppable. If I'm remembering correctly, I have the plus minus here. Going into this matchup, 14 plus minus, if my eyes aren't incorrect there. So they've only dropped 4 maps over all 6 of their sets. That's pretty wild to me up to this point. So it's a difficult team not only to beat, an impossible team seemingly to beat in a set, but effectively maps wise as well. Very, very strong here. What do you think it is about this squad that just makes them so tough to lock down?
They're flexible and they're playing on these controllers better than everyone else because they have so much more experience. I mean, they're literally world champions in the PCL across the board from them. They took a break and they came back to look at this meta with fresh eyes, and I think that's been a really big part of it. Them coming in with I mean, they're picking up Koga, they're playing Torvald, all these characters that people kind of wrote off, and they said, hey, by the way, we just changed the meta, so you're welcome, and they're just the best at it. Similar to what Sanguine did at the start of the last phase, right? Sanguine said, we don't care what you're playing, we're going to play triple DPS with tanky flankers, and we're going to make it work. Pickled Pepper doing the same thing with their just kind of willingness to play anything. I do have the map ends here I'll bring up really quickly. Flashpoint banned Bazaar and Shattered Desert. And Pickled Pepper banned Warder's Gate and Fish Market. So quite a bit. What are you saying?
I like those maps. Yes, I like them.
You like Fish Market? Merlo, can we get Merlo back in here? I'm sorry, I can't. I don't know if I can.
Merlo hate Fish Market?
I don't know. I'll tell him to, and then he might. He's moldable, Dave. He's still fresh. I can get him to change his mind, maybe.
Yeah. You're not wrong. Look, Fish Market to me always brings about interesting play styles, I guess. I can see why it's obnoxious. I totally can see that, but as far as a little sprinkle of spice, I think Fish Market is fun. I am very sad about Bazaar and Shattered Desert, though. Those two are usually a lot of fun to watch. The defense would be a little less so on Bazaar. At any rate, though, not what we'll be seeing here. So maybe, though, jokes aside with those 4, no real surprises coming out of the map bans.
Yeah, nothing shocking, I think. A lot of maps that are kind of polarizing are the ones that got banned, and we're going to one that I think a lot of people like, and that's Splitstone Quarry, going to be the map to open up the set. Now, Flashpoint lost the coin flip last time, so they're going to be the ones who get the first choice here. Interesting to see them go to Split, but I think they played pretty close to snapping on this map, if I remember correctly, so makes sense that they want to play on a map that they seem to find some success on.
That's right, and then, you know, we've talked about this meta and the long range, kind of some of the confirmable damage that's really found its way in. Victor, absolutely in that conversation, so I think smart by Flashpoint to take him away here. You wonder then if Vivian maybe carries a little extra weight here. Flashpoint could leave her available, maybe force Pickled Pepper into some sort of ban situation, but also the snipers. I think Strix and Kinessa have been in kind of an interesting spot where sometimes prioritized on some of these long-range sightline maps, sometimes not. Kinessa is going to end up getting banned here. That's interesting, though, Krez, leaving the Strix and also the Vivian both available.
Yeah, I agree, but I think maybe Pickled Pepper, it's kind of just saying, hey, we'll get one if you get the other, and we're confident that we'll be able to outplay you on whatever one you end up picking up, and it will be Vivian. I'm assuming, and I can even just double check this really quickly, that Vex is not on controller for this game. He actually swapped a little bit in the past, so I'll make sure right now just to see. Let's see, they said, Vex, you pulling out the sticks? Nah, no sticks today was the exact conversation that was happening between them. So, a glimpse into the behind the scenes between Feel and Vex on these teams, but no console, so it's going to be a mouse and keyboard Vex Vivian if they end up keeping the roles that we expect to see.
Hey, look, you won't catch me complaining about a Vivian regardless of input at this point. You know, obviously very strong on the controller, but I think a good aim with Vivian is going to find its home damage-wise, sort of regardless there. I think the notable takeaways here, Krez, Corvus left open the Kinessa ban, largely filling the role of where we would normally see Corvus taken away. Also, Strix left open. Again, the Kinessa ban then comes to mind. So I think Pickled Pepper did a decent job here of kind of forcing the hand of Flashpoint, force Flashpoint to prioritize the Vivian, give over two very strong picks in this Corvus and the Strix.
I agree. When your second pick, when you leave 3 strong picks open, you'll end up on the better of it, right? It just ended up being kind of perfect. Vivian, Corvus, Strix, all up. They're going to get 2 no matter what. If you first pick Corvus, we get Vivian, Strix, and then we'll just draft, you know, Atlas Khan, something that'll sit defensively and stop you from getting in, have a solid impact that way, and you can't really outpoke at that point for them. But Flashpoint, I don't hate what they've ended up with here. I think Bomb King might get shut down a little bit by the Terminus, but it has a chance to get really aggressive depending on what off-tank they pair with it. If it's like a Ruckus or something that can take advantage of that verticality, anything on this map that would be decent there. But it'll be Makoa, and that's more of a target towards... What's wrong, Dave?
I don't know, Makoa, man?
Terminus and Ashe. It hooks them both. It hooks Ashe out of Dash, hooks Ashe out of Assert Dominance, and hooks Terminus out of Siphon. He's not good.
Not the turtle he once was.
He's not good, but it's got logic behind it at the very least. I did actually, recently, I will say this, I won't be able to show them on stream, but I did get looks at stats recently. Makoa has a staggering 30% win rate across all of the PPC.
So my head shake, I think, somewhat warranted, maybe. Look, I agree. I think you pick him to counter out some of what Pickled Pepper are looking to do, but at the same time, you're also picking in a champion that has only found success, what was it, 30% of the time?
30% of the time.
So I think you're rolling the dice, maybe, that the counterplay is going to be enough to overcome the shortcomings, maybe, in the rest of that kit. So... I admire the risk, I think, here from Flashpoint. It is indeed a Koga to round out the draft now for Pickled Pepper. So I mean, we'll maybe round out this Makoa conversation. How worried are you realistically about Flashpoint finishing off their draft? I mean, obviously it's got some counterplay, but do you think that makes it worthwhile to pick up?
I think so. If you have enough people to burn it down, and Vivian BK can put that damage through. And I want to get into game just because I want to show you guys that actually Vex is on support. Vex has moved back to Damba to let Jalen be the one. It's insane. Put Jalen back on the direct damage. And I played with Jalen on DD in the past, back on Sanguine before we picked up Bagel. And he's pretty good at this role. Just a big transition for him. Only level 4 on his Vivian. So maybe not a ton of experience here, but apparently more than Vex to see them wanting to push it back that way.
Well, it's time to jump into game here. Flashpoint versus Pickled Pepper. Pickled Pepper, a team that has not done a lot of losing, and Flashpoint one that wants to return back to some of their winning ways. They definitely have the name recognition. Fasheko, maybe first and foremost. This is where you expect this Makoa to be, controlling this fidget spinner side down on the low ground here. And Flashpoint have actually bought themselves a decent amount of space. You got to watch out for that Inara health bar, though, down to about half HP. Chilling over on the point. Going to have to sidestep over back into bleachers, keep herself alive there. T-Mac as well on this Bomb King, ready to controlling some of the space. All right, there's some counterplay. The hook is going to bring Wonderful right back in, and Vex picks up first blood. Yeah,
the way they did that was great. They had him surrounded. I actually thought Wonderful might get away, but the gourd from Vex is what ends up doing the last little bit of damage there. So he'll play, but Pickled Pepper playing so slow, and they're just denying the cap, and that's ends up winning them this war of attrition so far with T-Mac falling. Doe wants to take some ground, but can't just yet.
Josephs is going to do his best to work his way forward. The Damba healing from Vex is working wonders, at least in keeping Inara in the fight, but unfortunately Field will pick up one onto Fasheko. Now Flashpoint a bit on the retreat, and look at this. Pickled Pepper storming the gates. They smell just a little blood in the water, and suddenly Flashpoint in the full-on retreat. This is going to be a big ultimate from Emmett Payne. Legacy burns that assert dominance as well, and I see no silhouettes over by that point. It's looking like 0.1 to Pickled Pepper.
Yeah, just dominant there by the end, using those ultimates. They charged faster just because of their slow play behind shields. They didn't give them a chance to charge the ultimates. Finally, they have it now, but does it make a difference once you're already back on this defensive side of things? But aggression early, maybe the Ancient Rage will come out, but he got knocked down, and Hell won't do anything down here.
Oh, he has to burn the Ancient Rage, misses the hook, the shades of 30% win rate maybe shining here for Pacheco. He's back into the fight, but he's getting barrel stuffed by his Strix, and Legacy is right there to finish off that kill. This is brutal now for Flashpoint. Pickled Pepper have an opening to really force this cart forward. Joseph's going to get staggered out from the rest of his squad here as well, and this is rarely a good sign, Chris, when the Strix can work its way forward, find these snapshots from medium range, and even stay alive, despite Jalen's sanity pouring out some damage.
Did you see that siphon angle from Wonderful? Perfectly protecting Skeppy. Just great play there by them, showing what Term can do in some of these situations, and me just trying to hop between somebody to see where to go here, because everyone's just dying on the side of Flashpoint. Can't get any good defensive POVs when the card's this close. It's all on Doe, and DR gets forced maybe a little early.
Seismic crash locks down Skeppy immediately into the King Bomb. Skeppy not allowed to play Paladins for a few seconds there, and now watch it in grayscale as the rest of the fight rings forward. Legacy answers back, one onto T-Mac, off to the left-hand side. The Ashe will end up falling down. Now Joseph's on the point. Important for him to keep himself in the fight. Might not matter as things turn out here, because Jalen's sanity has been let off the leash a little bit, and this Vivian swung some big damage number to keep Flashpoint in it on defense.
Yeah, doing quite a bit, but T-Mac way oversteps his bounds. I just don't think he realized that they had this area under control. He's like, all right, great, I'll spam them on the objective. Sounds perfect, and walks right into a waiting Koga. This early pick, even with spawn advantage, will give them a chance to push, but no early damage from Skeppy might make things a little bit tougher, especially with this hook starting things off.
Yeah, Pacheco trying to buy some CC value on this Makoa. So he's going to be able to buy some space there. Dread Serpent sails into the backline, but no kill to be found just yet. Instead, it's Pickled Pepper and Emmett Payne now with the double kill. There is a hook back, so Skeppy does end up falling, but look at the Cyclone Strike from Emmett Payne separating out this fight. Flashpoint, they're back and respawning. Pacheco goes down, Cart goes in, and Pickled Pepper have two.
What a great fight from them, honestly, how quickly they're able to turn things around. Yes, it is kind of starting off on the back of unfortunate positioning by T-Mac going a little bit far forward, and he really is getting just picked apart by them on that side. 1 in 7 for him on this bomb king and getting out damaged by both of his tanks. So tough game, but who does he really have to shoot? It's going into siphons, it's going into shields on the other side. Just not a lot of ways for him to actually get any damage through it at the end of the day. Plus, how do you can't really make that much room for him. He'll walk forward with Makoa. Maybe he hits a hook, then he gets some damage. If he misses hook, then not much he can do other than hope he gets that Ancient Rage in time to go even further.
Suddenly I'm feeling a little vindicated with my head shaking. I was nervous there that I was going to end up with some egg on my face, but at least up to this point. And again, it's not necessarily that Pacheco's playing poorly, it's just difficult to do this consistently enough. He shell spins in, is going to have the Ancient Rage to stay alive this time. Doesn't pick up the kill, he has to shell spin away. Look at this wonderful pinning 3 of Flashpoint in. There's the up down onto Vex, nice stun. Allows Jalen's sanity to trade things out here, but that's a reanimate in onto the back line. And suddenly T-Mac wants to poppy bomb himself right back in. Pacheco just a couple shots away from finding a kill on the Legacy, but T-Mac is the one who gets it done here. And Krez, throughout all of this, not much point control going on. Pickled Pepper, though, thanks to Emmett Payne, suddenly maybe have the legs to tilt this one in their favor.
It's possible they have that trade, but they lose Skeppy, and Skeppy's been a really big part of this, I think, so far. With Wonderful maybe falling as well. Corvus keep him up for one more second, but not long enough, and both tanks are kind of sent falling back. The health is low, and Daba needs to keep up.
That's tough. They get these kills, but Flashpoint can't walk forward. There's too much being answered back by Pickled Pepper to keep him at bay. Now T-Mac trying to buy some space with the King Bomb. Maybe you get a range stun here, you do, but the shield goes down just in time. The Corvus may have dropped his ultimate there towards the end as well. Buy some space. Suddenly Wonderful and Emmett Payne, they're going to combine for a full-on assault into the Pickled Pepper backline. Jalen's sanity goes down to Emmett Payne. Skeppy will cap off this mid-fight with another kill onto Vex, and it looks like Pickled Pepper are going to be pushing for the win.
Yeah, they're going to get that point for sure here, but the rest of them disengaging. There's no healer back up, it looks like, just yet. But Skeppy maybe overextends. Pacheco actually catches him out with a hook. Wants to go further, but he has to be so careful. He can die immediately with that massive cranium of his, especially when Koga's the one barreling down on him.
There's a big assert dominance, though, off to the side from Legacy. That'll slow down this numbers disadvantage fight for Pickled Pepper and actually tilt the scales right on back. Emmett Payne again with the double kill, make it 3. from the Koga. He's found himself an opening. Flashpoint have to slither away back to base, and Pickled Pepper gonna keep this cart moving.
They managed to disengage for now. If Dama needs to survive, though, he's got to be so careful. But this angle Skeppy's taken. He can't stay here much longer, but they still find the Dama, and they don't even get the trade.
Man, Skeppy stays alive. Wonderful has 2. Pacheco searching for this Strix, but is gonna have to shell spin, shell shield his way away. Just being chased down. Get into base. Oh, he can't do it. Wonderful snags the kill here. Man, this is decimation at the hands of Pickled Pepper, it seems, for Flashpoint. Maybe one last chance to fight back out.
I mean, compare this to the last round we just saw. We just saw Parallax play Fatal Ambition. That was also another low seed versus top seed game. This looks like what those actually normally look like with how much Parallax has been, with how much Pickled Pepper has been doing into Flash.
Pacheco lands the hook on the shoulder bashing Legacy to keep that Ashe right where she was. I think for the rest of this fight, Flashpoint can breathe just for a second. They're starting to build up some of those ultimates as well. T-Mac, definitely an important role to play, I think, on the defensive stand here, as far as controlling some of that space where Skeppy has effectively been living free on the last couple assaults.
And it's really hard for them to actually control that space you're mentioning, because look how far back he was with that area. T-Mac has to play really far on the left, and that doesn't give much coverage to main, so he'll rotate over and kind of force himself into this mines area. But if that entire area in front is open, it's all dough, and look, they're just hiding from him while taking all this space in the back.
Seismic Crash might have to get used here to stay alive. Heck, suddenly flanked. I don't think he expected it all. The stun won't connect on the entropic breach from the Corvus that is raining itself down. T-Mac falls. 2 members left alive from Flashpoint. One of them is dosed up here at this point. The Inara has to stay alive, buy some time for the respawn for the rest of Flashpoint, but Skeppy has something else in mind. Card inching its way in. Now Pacheco fighting back behind the pillar. A Dread Serpent into the back line, buys a little bit of time here, but Makoa not much longer for this world. Bomb King can't contest, and Pickled Pepper make it 4.
The timing, I was going to say, it's great that Doe was contesting as long as he did, but not having any real way to buy time after that hurt them. I mean, Makoa bought a little bit, but both tanks collapse on him. Terminus does a lot of damage with his melee. Problem is, it's melee. Normally that's an issue, but not when it's those kind of desperate situations when everyone has to collapse onto the cart there. So Flashpoint now knocked around by Pickled Pepper, leading them to a 4-0 lead to start this game off. Skeppy, and I thought Skeppy was going to top damage, but look at him here, 93k. Only Jalen even really close coming from the side of Flashpoint.
That's right. The Strix left unchecked pretty heavily throughout this game. There were a couple of times where somebody from Flashpoint made their way into the backline, but just wasn't a consistent enough basis, I think, to really slow down Skeppy and what he was trying to do this game. And you know, it's difficult because you look at what Flashpoint drafted and you could see some of the merits. You know, I think Pacheco a couple of times definitely showed the hooks connecting on the Makoa. You know, maybe you hope that a hook can pull down a Strix from the high ground, but you just didn't really have the freedom. And you look at Skeppy's KDA at 5.5 and 8. It's not all that wild. You know, it's average, maybe all things considered. But the uptime is, I think, the really important factor to look at there. And then there's Emmett Payne ripped through the Flashpoint lineup. I mean, I can't believe I haven't mentioned him yet. At 17, 4, and 9, this Koga didn't draw really any of the pressure, and Flashpoint paid.
Yeah, nothing he could really do. And T-Mac ended up kind of, like we mentioned, struggling a little bit on this Bomb King. But, again, who could he really push? He's not going to win a long-range trade with Skeppy. Emmett Payne's just going to run away when he engages, and those tanks kind of just beat him out. Ashe, other than maybe over the shield splash damage, Ashe, he can beat that, but it's just a tough pick for a Bomb King on Splitstone when range can be so important. That's exactly what Pickled Pepper were playing for, and it just ended up being the answer to what they wanted here. I can get, if you want to talk about the next map while I set this up, it looks like we're going to Stone Keep. Pickled Pepper's pick, because Flashpoint got to start things off.
Yeah, that's absolutely brutal. So your Flashpoint, you take us to Splitstone Quarry to maybe set the tone of this matchup, and then suddenly you lose, and Pickled Pepper, fresh off a 4-0, get to go somewhere that they're comfortable with. And I really like Stone Keep. It's a map that offers a lot of versatility. You can sort of cater your draft depending on how you like to play here. Long sight lines if you want to keep a Strix in your lineup. If you want to maybe move over to the blaster style of character, definitely some close quarters, low ground, high ground to try to sort of take over there. So I like the Stone Keep pick. I think Kresnik, it's something that can obviously work for Pickled Pepper and the types of play styles they like.
Yeah, well, it definitely, we've seen them be pretty successful on this map before. I'm surprised Flashpoint didn't ban it, but I think they just wanted to focus more on the negative parts of their map pool as opposed to the positive parts of Pickled Peppers. We're heading into draft here. Pickled
Can't
Pepper.
be playing on Fish Market, man.
No, absolutely not. Or Bizarre or Shattered maps. Apparently, they just don't want wide maps, but Pickled Pepper are great on Jag. They're great on Bright. I feel like you can target them a little bit more.
Actually, I think I like the way you worded that, where Flashpoint probably focusing more on the weaker part of their game rather than what's strong for Pickled Pepper, because it just seems like there's way too much probably to focus on for these guys if you're trying to map ban specifically for what Pickled Pepper do well, because at that point you got to take a lot out of that map pool. So don't hate it, but now you get to see what happens, I suppose, one way or the other, what happens when we move our way over to Stone Keep. Both Victor and Vivian going to get taken away by Flashpoint. Shaolin and Androxus as well. My goodness, a lot of that direct damage, a lot of the damage threats now banned out. That opens the door for this Genos. Would be surprised, admittedly, if a Corvus didn't get answered back at some point here for Flashpoint.
Dave, I'm looking at these bans down here in the bottom right corner of the screen.
Tell me.
And the biggest worry for me is Flashpoint. After the performance that those DPS had, I'm worried that they're mad about controllers. I'm a little concerned because the last bans were normal. And now we go to Stone Keep, and they've instantly banned Victor Vivian. I'm worried they might be a little tilted, Dave, about playing against this primarily controller team. We'll have to see if they maybe try to take some away. I could see them maybe going for more hit scans to try to deny them, but I don't know if that'll even help them in the end. They'll just be kind of stuck on a one-track mind draft.
Right. I'm thinking, it's one thing to take something away. The Victor and the Vivian definitely strong, but then you got to be able to draft around the rest of what's available. You're taking those two away. You're leaving something else that's pretty strong, that's open here. Now this is interesting. Genos Corvus, and now pairing that with a ROM. Admittedly not something that any of us maybe are super well versed in, but Pickled Pepper, I suppose, feeling confident with. I don't know. I guess you argue those are like the three top picks, not usually on the same team as one another, but Pickled Pepper going to try to make it work.
Now, Dave, I have the next pick typed in.
All right,
I'll give you one guess. One guess.
For Flashpoint here?
For Flashpoint's next pick, the one that's currently has the fantastic arrow animation by Jithens. I'll give you one choice.
Oh man, there's so many. Like, what's the most absurd thing that we haven't seen in forever? Like,
it's not that crazy. We've actually seen it recently, but it's not common.
I'm saying, Grok. Hit me with the Grok.
And it's Pip.
No. Same vibe, maybe. Like,
same vibe,
I'm on
similar.
the healer train, maybe.
Yeah, you were in the off support lane of thinking, but
right. Man, all right.
Pickled Pepper, they're not denying them hit scans. Not only are they not denying them hit scans, they've also picked a large headshot hitbox healer or off support if they play it that way in kind of response to it. So big ask from them, and they have this Discovery Lex, this Talus. I mean, look at this draft by Pickled Pepper. This is horrifying if I'm on the other side of it.
Who keeps up with this now if you're Flashpoint? I mean, you have Pip who, no way he does it alone, right? I mean, you got an off tank, you got Koga, you got Kathy.
All right, Dave.
Something else here. Are we doing this again?
I have their answer typed in right now.
Their answer is.
I have the answer. What is the answer to the Pickled Pepper composition?
Grover or Ying?
It's Dredge.
I was gonna say Dredge for the Pip pick. They need more healing, don't they? What? Are they gonna survive with just a Pip?
I mean, solo heal Pip actually got played by Pickled Pepper last week. And it was okay. It ended up almost tying, I believe, whatever healer they had. It was either Damba or Corvus. So Pippler did well. But that was on Ice Mines. This is a very different map to be playing this on. It's a hard task for a Pip healer. Maybe it's still Vex on that healer. Maybe he's really feeling himself on this pick. It's possible. If you hit every shot, the throughput on Pip is kind of insane, but not something I would ever rely on.
Yeah, I mentioned Ying or Grover just because of massive burst healing, and
well,
I'm not sure. Flashpoint, I don't know if they've got it here. I mean, you look at Rom, Talus, Lex with, double marks from Genos and Corvus. Maybe the big answer to look back is there any merit to what Flashpoint have drafted up to this point? Do you think they have the damage to deal with a Rom that's difficult enough to kill with just one healer on his pocket?
I don't think the ROM is the problem. I think it's the flankers that are going to run through them. And before we go into the game, Dave, I'm sorry for making that thought very short, but I have one last game for you. Who's playing Pip?
There's 20 questions. I've gotten none of them right. Who's playing Pip? It's not Vex, obviously, at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my heart says Fasheko, right? Like, that's where my heart goes.
I'll give you a hint. It's not.
I don't know, man. You're going to have to tell me who is it.
We're actually, unfortunately, they paused, so I'm not going to go into the game just yet. So you have enough time. You have time for one more. Or you want me to hold off? I can hold off on telling you.
No, I want you to swing. Let me know who it is.
Well, it's Doe. It's Doe Subs. Doe Subs playing the solo heal Pip here for Flashpoint.
All right.
Who's on Ruckus? It is Jalen Sanity, who has also played tanks. So Jalen, the last time he was in the PML, he was an off tank. Jalen's kind of played it all, so he's the one who I think makes the most sense.
Yes,
getting thrown about on all these different roles. Fasheko, for those wondering, is on Cassie, which is something we expect from him at the very least. Fish on Cassie isn't the most surprising thing in the world. But again, this Pickled Pepper draft is horrifying. Talus and Lex are going to be able to get so aggressive. We've seen, I think, one of our first looks at Lex in this metagame was Discovery on this map with a double pocket being played by Pickled Pepper. So as we head into game, I expect to see more of the same.
And there it is, Kresnik, Dosups himself piloting the Pip here. I love me some Pip. So never sad to see him come through. Unfortunately, it's looking difficult here. Does end up leaving base with Catalyst as well, so it kind of looks like damage or bust. Flashpoint up to, oh my god, T-Mac runs face first into a wall named Emmett Payne here. And the rest of this fight, Krez, I'm not sure is going to fare all that much better. The rest of Flashpoint are just walking away. Pickled Pepper have maybe already won the mid-fight, and we're 30 seconds into this game starting up.
Yeah, they have that point cap going, but they kill Legacy on the objective. T-Mac kind of slips in on the side, more or less undetected, and Doe kills Skeppy as well, trying to get aggressive.
All right.
No healing for them, but maybe it's not needed.
All right, I count him out too early. The ROM, though, still has something to say about it. Emmett Payne, a double kill, capitalizes on the setup. There's a triple for Lex down the stretch. A couple shots away from the quad, but Theo will end up finding it. Pickled Pepper just needed a little regroup time. Just needed to take a breather, get some of those cooldowns back. And Flashpoint did not stand a chance on the back end of it. That's going to be point number one.
Yeah, for sure, with Legacy still capping strong here, and more aggression from them as they go forward. I don't know if I'm going to have a chance to break this down at all, but realistically, I don't know.
If there's anything to break down,
I was going to say the exact same thing with Doe. Look at this. He just slips behind them, and it's just kind of inviting them to the Thunderdome up top left.
Yeah, somebody come duel me, please. I don't have Evil Mojo yet, I swear. But look at that. I mean, the ROM is still just chilling in the back line right now, and finally will go down. I'm sure Wonderful is wondering where the rest of Pickled Pepper was while they're ushering the cart forward here. If nothing else, maybe this is a tough area for Pickled Pepper to fight into. Some of that early high ground advantage for Flashpoint might make it a little extra difficult for Pickled Pepper to find big space advantages here. But Emmett Payne, a nice flank from the Lex, a triple kill again. Guy's now got two, a quad this time. Oh, penta-kill, give it to him. Emmett Payne has got it. Down goes Flashpoint. And Pickled Pepper swing right back.
And unfortunately, me not changing from the Portuguese announcer just has him yelling over that the North American game. But still, a mid-pay. This is what Discovery Lex does, especially with these pockets on him. He's got so much damage boost, so much lifesteal. I mean, just look in the bottom left corner. When he gets low, look at how much health he gets per shot. It's 184, and Evil Mojo finds nothing.
Neither does the Law, to be fair. So Flashpoint able to whittle down Wonderful once more. It's really been the only storyline to follow. Emmett Payne is going to dash his way away and actually just eat the last bit of damage there. True Power now connects onto Vex. See you later, Dredge. Skeppy connecting for that one. Now a three-man defense from Flashpoint is going to have to make all the difference, but it's going to slowly get ripped away. Pickled Pepper just sort of rolling his one roaming death squad to put down Flashpoint. We're already at 2 points. A few minutes into this game, I guess the writing was sort of on the wall on this one.
Yeah, I think so, looking at the draft from them. They don't even have a primary healer. I mean, the Catalyst Pip We'll look at the healing charts in a few seconds, but the Catalyst Pip just can't keep up. They can't really do it without Combat Medic, without Mega Potion. Just a little bit something else needed here by them. This Lex, though, running away with it on the damage charge. But surprisingly, it's Cassie and then Ruckus right afterwards, which is not something I really expected to see to back it up here. Not a lot of healing from Doe either. We're not seeing any potion reset. We're not seeing anything else like that. Just pure damage dealing. And unfortunately, a little bit less than 4,000 healing. A little bit more than 3 potions hit by him so far. And Life Rip's coming out for Flashpoint because they seem to really need it.
I mean, the quick math says that's about a 1/7 of the healing, total healing that Pickled Pepper's putting out. So maybe the higher damage number is just a facet of having more health to burn through. But for Pickled Pepper, they're going to be sad that Legacy has now gone down first. Here's a Kraken for Flashpoint. Maybe find some value there. 1-for-1 trade on the back end. But Flashpoint have actually started off this mid-fight a little bit closer than what the previous one was. Wonderful, still on the high ground, getting melted down as the Kogo looks to provide some chase, but Emmett Payne left unchecked again. That's another multi-kill for Emmett Payne. Over on the church side he goes, but now up to the high ground, he might find his third.
Yeah, and he'll fall there with Emmett Payne finding the next one on T-Mac. And again, the Death Squad coming out from Pickled Pepper just continues to roll them over with Doe. Trying to roll back out, but oh my God. Headshots from medium range so consistent. Who needs Death Hastens when you do that much damage?
Pickled Pepper got to get back on the point here. Not even trying to cap. Feel, get on the point, man. Build up point number 3. You're doing them dirty, leaving Flashpoint back and respawning now. I mean, I don't know, man. At this point, Pickled Pepper just trying to farm themselves up some damage. They're certainly doing that, but should be pushing for the win here at this point. So a little tough to see, I think, if you're Flashpoint. Now they'll move themselves back and build up some percentage on the point.
They realized, I think both supports were forward, and neither of them really looked back and saw exactly what was happening. So now they'll cap. I'm not sure who else will really be able to make it, with Wonderful kind of being able to kite away. But Doe, again, just keeps trying to fight up top, and he'll probably get killed by this True Power.
It wasn't particularly close at all. Skeppy just channels the ultimate and grabs a free kill here with Jalen Sanity going down. Looks like Flashpoint might for the third time this game. So now it's been 7 straight points for Pickled Pepper, just waiting just for one final touch. What's even more dire is not the fact that you're down 3-0, but it's the fact that you're already defending from the high ground in the back of your base. If you're Flashpoint here, almost everyone from Pickled Pepper, 3 out of 5, I suppose, if not almost everyone, are shrieked out here, and you haven't had consistent answers to really all that much of anything. And these are sort of the harder ones, I think, to kind of look at and break down. I think we've sort of said what needs to be said as far as why Pickled Pepper are doing so well, and it's held true now through 3 straight points. I'm not sure Flashpoint have the legs to even defend this one.
I mean, they managed to stop Emmett Payne's massive streak, but I don't know what more else they can get from it as Vex gets knocked away from his transporter. So unfortunate. He could have maybe gotten out into the spawn, but just sent away, not able to use that healing either. With some aggression on the side from them. Pacheco totally isolated. Skark getting close, but they might be able to get something with a combo. Look at that Hexafire plus Evil Mojo, but they would have got him anyway. That's
right, they would have had that kill regardless of those ultimates being spent. Skeppy's still alive, and so is Emmett Payne on the back. Free kill elsewhere for anyone who wants it, and it's Emmett Payne who will end up taking this one. Now Vex down on the low ground with this dredge. Maybe interesting positioning there. Normally expect to see him a little bit higher. That's going to open the door for Wonderful just to walk his way into the backline here. A lot of damage being turned around here, but Wonderful stays alive. Not for much longer, though, as Jalen Sanity has found the damage. Got to be careful here. Skeppy, Rune of Travel, brings him right on back to safety, and I'll eat my words. Flashpoint have held strong for the moment.
Yeah, but they were low and unable to get rehealed, so any chip damage that they do on the other side just ends up making them collapse. You can see that. No matter what they do, they just can't reheal. Let me double check. No veteran? No veteran, so there's really no way to do it other than the little bit that Doe's able to bring out.
Skeppy's going to True Power once more, this time onto Pacheco. Spray him down with the remainder of those bullets. We're spraying, shooting the ground. It's a 4-kill swing for Pickled Pepper, and they were never going to be denied here on Stone Key. Pickled Pepper rolled that one in, I think, in what was 8 minutes, Kresnik. So we're on to a game 3 after a convincing 8:55, so closer to 9, I guess, to be fair, than Flashpoint. I got to give them that extra minute of survivability. But all things considered, not close at all, really, in either of these two games. 8 straight points for Pickled Pepper, and it's going to be tough to slow them down. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, Vex actually top damaging for his team, which surprising to me. I thought he was kind of struggling. Cassie was running away with it a bit there, but Dredge just does a lot of damage, even if you're not necessarily being supported as effectively by your team. But I mean, look at, again, Emit Pain, 79,000, 80,000 damage, we'll say it, plus 100,000 absorbed by Wonderful. Healing, Doe almost got 5k, but just short for their team there. Self-healing, not enough to keep up with it either.
So it was 1/7, I think, the healing. Combined 60,000 for Pickled Pepper there towards the end of the game. 1/12 by the end of it there. So, I mean, the healing numbers, I think, just don't lie in this case. Emit Pain, at 22-12, had himself, or 22-2, excuse me, 14 assists, had himself a game. And, you know, Legacy feel the combinations of both of those marks, ultimately providing massive healing numbers in an 8-minute game, strong there for them. And these are always tough, Krez. You know, I think this is one Flashpoint drafted, you know, the way they did, and it just seemed like that was the way that game was going to go. So Pickled Pepper maybe just thanking him for the win, and maybe something a little bit different here for Flashpoint in Game 3.
Yeah, well, maybe they just really didn't want to play Stone Keep. Maybe they were trying to ban it, and they just said, oh, well, we didn't get it, so who knows? Who knows with that, honestly. Flashpoint now, with their map pick here, it looks like they want to take us to Ice Mines. So it's going to be a map that I feel like we've seen Vex Tiberius kind of pop off on. Honestly, we've seen some decent success from them on here, at least comparatively to how they've looked in general.
This is where we see the pip, right? I mean, we saw it on Stone Keep.
This is the place
we saw
for
it
it,
then.
right?
We saw Dredge. I mean, all these picks that we expect to see on Ice Mines, we saw on Stone Keep in pretty lackluster fashion. So the time is maybe now for a little retribution. Maybe now for this Flashpoint team. And you know, I think it's got to be like a mental regrouping. Obviously, it's tough. You've had a tough phase so far up to this point if you're Flashpoint. You know, it is what it is, but I think you got to do your best to at least give yourself a chance straight out of the draft phase to compete here in some of these games. And, you know, the damage numbers could have been there. I'm not completely discounting what they drafted on Stone Keep, but maybe back to convention for Flashpoint here, especially on Stone Keep, excuse me, Ice Mines.
Sorry, I didn't click the button that fixes it.
No. Oh, I actually didn't see that. That was my own mess up, but I appreciate you covering that. I've now undone by admitting it was my own mess up. But really here for Flashpoint, especially if you're going to Ice Mines, you know, this is a winnable map with a lot of defense.
For sure.
If you're not super confident in your point fight, you go to Ice Mines. So I think one foot out the door is not the way to draft here. And I already like the pivot. Take away the Genos. I think a worthwhile change for Flashpoint going into picks and bans.
Yeah, I'd agree. And they banned the Vivian too. So again, it is semi-targeted towards them, but Vivian also very strong regardless of your input. They just don't want it for themselves here. And Pickled Pepper,
right.
Aim for that Willow, aim for the Blaster side of things. Also, get rid of the Dredge, who we know can be very effective on this map most of the time. No, I'm being serious. Listen, I love Dredge.
No, I'm laughing because I'm harshing on Dredge on Stone Keep, and Flashpoint are thinking, yeah, man, we picked him, and now he's getting banned out, so, you know, don't harsh on us quite as much. But I agree. I think Ice Mine's definitely a place where you can work. And Rom as well, you know, how some of the fighting goes. You might not expect Rom to have these massive advantages here on Ice Mines, but he still is able to do exactly what he wants to do. So I think Flashpoint have given themselves a great start to the draft.
Yeah, I agree, I think, and with Rom and Sha Lin now to get rid of one of the counters for it, I think this is going to be a kind of hard to contest Rom on their team. Right now with Ying getting kind of picked up on the other side as well, so a lot of healing, that hit scan dismounts as well, so we're seeing a decently kind of styled draft here with Pickled Pepper picking up Makoa. Oh, wait a minute. Dave?
I was about to shake my head again.
No, I know what they're doing. Anybody
who
has played a pug at any time knows exactly what Pickled Pepper are doing. When you look at the bans, when you look at the picks.
Oh, this is the
Pirates.
Is this what?
Elevate. This is
You're
Pirates.
Right. It's the old 5 stack on the point Elevate. What LAN was that? Were they? Was that the mid-season tournament last year where Elevate brought the 5-man stack? So I mean, you'll probably do a better job of describing it than I, but effectively you sit inside of a Makoa shield together, and then you have these big circles of healing between a Damba and a Sky, and a power siphon for mitigating a lot of the incoming damage, and you just 5-man death ball it to the win, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, you used to see Grok done with this. We're not going to see him here because most of the time you have it's the CC totem that they used to use, obviously no longer a pick these days, so they're going to go with Barrack instead just to have another shield. So you have the Siphon, you have the half-shell resets, you have the Barrack shields in general. Combined with that, they have to go Drogos to respond, but the Siphon in the way, this pirate ship style, as it was so lovingly known, is going to be rough for them to break through. It's kind of all on the Drogos at this point, and they're hoping that this Khan can pull someone away in that small little bit of downtime with the shield.
Flashpoint are walking face first into it, kind of regardless. So I agree, Drogos is got a massive role to play here on Ice Mines. I miss him. So whether he's picked as a counter pick or as a direct pick in general, regardless of counters on the other side, always going to be happy. And I think Flashpoint have kind of answered that call from game number 2, kind of reconvened themselves and drafted something that can work. But I'm trying to think back really to that mid-season LAN where this Elevate squad made this 5-stack on the point composition, I say somewhat work, because ultimately the wins didn't fully end up flowing through that set. I mean, they were able to get a couple, or there was some pushback, but it's always going to be a difficult composition to break. I mean, Drogos may be the hope here, and you're going to have to buy some Wrecker at some point. Shaolin, Rom, they can apply it, I suppose. So there is some hope for Flashpoint, I think.
Yeah, I think the pirate ship comp can fall apart depending on how late in the game we go. I'm actually very excited to see the Gord talent come out from the Damba, and I can pull you guys into game so you can see that as well. It's what you expect from this, because it's healing you can't counter. He just throws it on the ground in the middle of them, and we'll kind of get away with it. We see Sand Trap in response to, and also max heal, but no speed on Sky, because if you're standing completely still, who needs
I'm not moving.
it?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. They're not moving. They're just going to stand on the point. Who cares? They're just going to tank all that damage. Plus half shell, plus Siphon resets. It all kind of works together for this one solid draft. And Fish is just trying to figure out what he's going to do. He has to maybe go Fusillade, maybe Wrecker, but Combustible would make the most sense to knock them around and follow up on the damage. Looks like he's still not sure. It will be Fusillade instead, so no knockbacks. Just focusing on doing the damage itself and not even running a reset on the spit either.
We're going to look like fools if Pickled Pepper don't end up just stacking all 5 members. All right, well, they've already done it, so never mind.
I think this is the best way to watch this, by the way. We're going to hold up top here for most of it.
Well, there's no other perspective to look at. It's going to be Pickled Pepper doing this. They're just standing there. Nobody from Flashpoint can work their way in. They target one guy who's walked too far forward, and it's Joseph's this time. The shielding comes back up off of cooldown. There's a full-on split now from Flashpoint, but they've already got to go. It's already 81% in favor of Pickled Pepper. You gotta hold strong, Pickled Pepper. The onslaught is coming. Pacheco, how do you get the Dragon Punch that early? He's just farming ultimate percentage as this game goes on. There's a slight separation. The overtime touch, I'm not sure is going to be in time. Does get reset here. Flashpoint locked themselves back onto the point. So 99% for Pickled Pepper, exactly what we expected here. And as overtime melts down, it looks like the 5-man stack is going to work out once again.
Yeah, I mean, it works out. When you hold on the point like that, it is a legitimate strategy that can work if you set up the draft for it. You kind of have to take something away once you see Willow and Dredge banned, because that is one of the most effective ways to counteract it. But they're just going to sit tight on top of each other. They're going to stack those shields constantly. And if they break it, they're playing into the Makoa's game. They're giving him the resets, and I don't think that's what they should be looking for.
There's a time bomb down. Luckily for Flashpoint, 1 kill swings in their favor. That's Emmett Payne on this guy, who will take a tumble. An immediate answer back, though. Nice Dread Serpent. Sort of separate out Flashpoint here. If there is a downfall, it's kind of like a Phalanx where you lose one member on one of your sides, and maybe that's the opening that Flashpoint need. The Juggernaut in Rom will rumble his way in, immediately deleted by Joseph. So Joseph has played a big role in slowing down the 5-stack from Pickled Pepper. The defense this time around looks like it'll be successful.
Maybe.
Not the whole
Wonderful
thing,
Resd, actually. Wait, they're actually... That one fight, but Wonderful might be turning this around with his Res, Dave.
That's right. Wonderful is now in the back line, running down Vex just a little bit here. The rest of Flashpoint hasn't been able to answer back just yet. They're still focused on the rest of the engagement here, and wow! good eyes there from Wonderful, realizing that the reanimate is just going to keep Pickled Pepper right in it. Ah!
Look at the Dragon Punch, it gets rid of Wonderful, but no one else is there on the fight, just Vex trying to buy as much time as he can behind these illusions with no AoE on their side, but eventually he'll fall, just strafing back and forth over there. And now Pickled Pepper, this is the hardest decision on this comp, right? Do we all stack up top, or do we all just stand on the cart and give up high ground to them? It's actually something you have to think about, but they won't have time to think with Jalen going for the overpower.
The overpower will connect here. T-Max snags the kill. Pickled Pepper not dissuaded though. They'll stack themselves underneath the shielding and the healing, keep themselves in it. Illusory Rift for Flashpoint keeps them in the fight a little bit longer. A time bomb up to the high ground, but Pacheco connects with some important shots there down the stretch, and Emmett Payne will end up going down. So you can see maybe where this composition starts to crumble just a little bit for Pickled Pepper, and it's right where you expected it to, Krez, where decisions had to get made, and unfortunately it was the wrong one this time.
Yeah, it was just hard. They didn't have time to make a decision, right? Because of them getting pressured. When they did, the overpower coming in meant they couldn't even choose a side to stack on. You kind of had to stack to make the comp work, but timing of the fight win lets Flashpoint get their first point of the set defensive on Ice Mines, I think, to the surprise of nobody there to back him up. And there was a part of the build I wanted to take a look at. Maybe we'll look at Barrack here. Nothing too crazy for him running one-man scrap. Maybe you could have seen that a little bit higher for them. They're going to be destroying those turrets quite a bit with that AoE damage trading onto that point. But this half-shell Makoa has been, I think, really impactful at keeping them alive on this point. They have Max actually not even running maximum reset. You need the whole shield maxed out to get it, so only half of that reset plus rushing Chronos instead. Interesting choice by them, kind of relying a little bit harder on the Siphon and the Barrack shield to make up for that difference.
I'm curious here how Pacheco's mindset as well, kind of, especially with the Dragon Punch. I mean, it is the freest ultimate to hit when Pickled Pepper are playing this type of composition, but I wonder how much you can even aim it. I mean, you're just going to swing on in. This time, it's Feel who throw out the Dread Serpent on the back end of the fight. Here's an Ancient Rage to keep Flashpoint at bay. But it looks like Flashpoint are actually going to be able to win this small mid-skirmish. No fast cap, though, so Flashpoint are going to have to zone out. The 5-man stack crumbles.
Yeah, it's because of that ROM ultimate that came in completely breaking through a counter that wasn't really around at the start, but now one you have to think about. And Pickled Pepper maybe haven't played this comp back from the day of when they were elevated into this as much. But in isolation, this Dread Serpent could open the door.
Wow, that one hits at least 3 members of Flashpoint, and Emmett Payne will whittle down the health bar of Jalen Sanity, and the 5-stack can begin again. This time with no ultimates outside of the overpower, but that one's back in base and respawning. Plenty of healing now for Pickled Pepper to continue control the midpoint. It's an illusory rift. Gonna keep the health bars nice and full. It's a time bomb down as well. That one just a slow down, maybe an overtime touch, but a Juggernaut right on through from Dosept. Gets exactly what Flashpoint need. Oh, the overpower not gonna pull. Oh, it did end up pulling in Feel off to the side. No more healing from the Damba, but look at Pickled Pepper. They're winning the rest of these kills beneath a lot of that shielding. Overtime wants to go down so bad, and Jalen Sanity might be the last line of defense. He sure is. Pickled Pepper, the war of attrition falls. And it's the 5-stack yet again winning the mid.
I'm so sorry that you have to end up being the one to constantly break down these fights, because it is just kind of chaos on that objective.
Pure chaos.
And that's the whole point of the comp, right? You want them to not know how to deal with all their resources you're constantly putting in their face here. But I think Flashpoint, they're trying to surround them constantly, and this could be the engagement that they want with go piercing through them, especially with a Dragon Punch to follow up.
The Dragon Punch finds the target. It's wonderful this time. Oh, but the hook from range. Hello, goodbye, Pacheco. Down goes Pacheco once more. Now it's Pickled Pepper with a big sweeping fight to keep this car rolling in the proper direction. Emmett Payne with a double. And how about that answer back from Pickled Pepper? Big time hook from Legacy to pull the Drogos back in.
Yeah, to pull them right into that Resurrect and keep them moving with this. And taunting on the card because the damage they do doesn't really mean anything. Plus it also baits some damage into Wonderful Siphon. Pacheco is kind of feeding him charges as they go. But the contest now, maybe from above from Jalen, but a stun and a time bomb should force them down.
Look at all that cleave damage, though, from the high ground. Time bomb forces them to the side. Flashpoint at least able to slow things down here. This is exactly where you expect the Juggernauts to find value, but no, it's a Dread Serpent that'll send Josephs back behind the box. The 2-for-1 trade now make it 3. Jalen Sanity falls. Josephs has to stay alive here to keep this card at bay, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to do so. Vex desperately teleporting himself around, and nobody in Flashpoint in range, and Pickled Pepper now on set point.
Yeah, they ran away with that one after that early pick. I think that time bomb, just to make them run away, letting them stand so close together with a close choke point, I mean, they can't really fight them at that point. They got back to their comfort zone. They got out of that high ground, forcing them to come down and contest once they got them one by one. The death of the tanks coming in when they did really helped them out, I think, significantly there. This was what I wanted to see. So look at that build from Feel. Venomous Gourd 5, because everyone's in the Gourd all the time anyway. 30% lifesteal gifted to the entire team across the board. Now we're seeing some resiliences come out for Wonderful. He wants to stay alive, and there's plenty of healing to keep him in the fight to do it.
Yeah, Wonderful. Full 3-stack on the Resil. Everyone for Pickled Pepper somewhere in the resilience department realizing that they are going to be stacked up. So some of the CC that Flashpoint are bringing to the table is going to be able to find a target somewhat easily. Pacheco, no Dragon Punch, no life this time. Already an early win now for Pickled Pepper. It's the illusory rift, just shy of any sort of value now for Flashpoint. Juggernaut right on through, but there's plenty of shielding to prevent any sort of follow-up. Jalen Sanity connects with the overpower, and it's a heat haze now popped from Flashpoint. It's a 1-for-1 trade on the mid as we stand. Pickled Pepper, though, I mean, this is what you expect from this composition. They are just building up percentage time and time again. Finally, Fields goes down, nearly stayed alive throughout all of the onslaught that Flashpoint were bringing. But now some of the dominoes starting to fall. Flashpoint maybe have an advantage.
It's possible they have 4 there, but the Siphon keep them up. Plus they have Ancient Rage and the Reanimate. That's like having 4 people anyway, and Wonderful's going to play off that and get super aggressive.
Legacy swinging through. There's the Reanimate from Wonderful. Call it a 1-for-1 trade with the Reanimate there, but right on into the Dome Shield goes Jalen Sanity. Overtime is on. Flashpoint chances dwindling away. They have to find themselves onto the point, and they're doing their best, but it's a Dread Serpent to send Josephs running. This game is going to go down, and it's going to be Pickled Pepper on top.
And what a comp to do it with, right? They banned the Willow, they banned the Dredge, and literally most of the counters are gone. Flashpoint, the only thing maybe they pick instead is what? Tyra? Did they go Tyra? Is that the answer? Someone in chat mentioned it, but they had the Drogos, and I thought Pacheco was doing quite a bit.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough. They maybe needed that Burn Monster just to counteract that Smoke Bomb and to counteract that Ripened Gourd that was doubled healing.
It seems like Pacheco with Dragon Punch was the one big starting off counter that Flashpoint had in a lot of those fights. Did the most damage in the game. I suppose you can't ask for much more than that. I mean, Fusillade makes some sense when everyone's going to be standing in one spot and you're going to be hitting somebody regardless. I do wonder, realistically, how much control he had over who he's Dragon Punching here, or maybe his mindset is just, I'm going to fly in and connect with somebody. If they separate, maybe I can find an ideal target, but at some point it's got to get too muddled there in the middle to really, you know, be able to accurately depict or engage exactly where you want to.
Yeah, it's just, it's tough to, once you're pushing, to be able to stay fully stacked up on that cart, but, I mean, it's Ice Mines, right? If you're going to draft a comp that just wins every mid, this is the map to do it on. You just win every mid, even if you lose every push, you'll eventually win the game because of how impactful those mids are. Get an early start, and it's really hard for them to kind of turn it around into you. I want to look at that shielding. 93,000 damage blocked by Legacy, most of that coming in from, I think, T-Mac. Looking at that Wrecker, though, not actually that much taken, just the focus fire was enough to burn through the shields. Only Wrecker taken by T-Mac. Still able to go through, but that means they can't really fight the Dome Shield. That's where the real counter, right, I think, comes in, when they can't get through. As soon as Skeppy charges up his ultimate, which he will do with turret damage and all the healing and extra poke he's doing. I think great by them, and also great by Pickled Pepper to continue Sky's now 100% win rate somehow across the board.
Dude, we don't need more Sky, man. Unless I'm playing Sky, I don't want anyone else to be playing Sky. The ability to stealth and just decimate my health bar before I can say anything about it. I don't want it. You do want it if it's on your team, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But having to invest then in Illuminate to try to buy you, it's all tough but it's something that works here. And I will say, I say that out of a point of I think Skye is good. I think she's warranted the 100% win rate, but I do love the flexibility that she brings as well. Now with the the smoke able to affect some of the allies as well, depending on how you want to build out Skye, I think in a kind of a fun spot where she's able to make compositions like this work for sure. So it's got to feel good for Pickled Pepper. Unconventional in their draft picks to grab the win.
I mean, staying flexible, staying on top. That's why Pickled Pepper are now, I believe, 7-0 in this region, undefeated. Still now 2 weeks into the second rotation of the round robin. And that was a top versus bottom, but I expect the next game to be hopefully a little bit closer with how Team Project have been looking recently. And we're going to do a quick break, and we'll be back with Team Prolific versus Team Project. See you then.